Hello everyone, welcome to Come Sit at My Table. We're Tom and Melissa and we sure do appreciate you stopping by to sit at our table for a while today. We are going to make a side dish that is so simple I seriously considered not even doing this as one of our videos. But it is so good and so easy that I thought maybe somebody who hadn't done this before would enjoy this dish. So today, we're going to make baked Parmesan potato slices. It's very simple to do and has very few ingredients. Let's talk about what we're going to use to make these baked Parmesan potato slices. Of course, we're going to need potatoes. Now, it's just going to be Melissa and me eating today, so I'm doing 2 potatoes. If you've got a family of 3, 2 potatoes still might be enough. If you're serving 4 people, you might want to add an extra 1 or 2. If you've got kids, they probably don't need a whole potato, so you're just going to have to judge how many potatoes you need. But you do want pretty good sized potatoes because when you slice them, you don't want little tiny rounds of potatoes. You want a good, nice slice. We're going to use 1/2 stick of butter. So that's 1/4 of a cup. We're also going to use 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon paprika, 1 teaspoon salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Then at the end of our baking time, we're going to take a microplane and put some Parmesan cheese on top of our potato rounds and let that melt over them and crisp up a little bit. We'll put those under the broiler, put it under the broiler so that that cheese will melt and kind of crisp up. Now, this recipe can be made the way you like it. This is just what I do. But you can do lots of things with this recipe, and we'll talk about those as we go along. I'm going to get started melting our butter because we need to get that on our potato rounds and get them wet so that the seasoning will stick to it. So I'm just going to slice this up and I'm going to put that in the microwave just to get it melted. And while that is melting, we will put together our spices. So I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and you can adjust this to whatever you want. If you want to put some Italian seasoning on it, that would be good. Red pepper flakes if you like some heat. Cayenne if you want some cayenne pepper. Now that's, you know what, that's about empty. I'm putting it all in. That won't hurt anything. I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of salt, and we all know that potatoes need salt. They are a bland vegetable. 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. And now we're just going to mix that up, and you know, you can use a spoon if you want or a little whisk, but honestly, your fingers will do the best job. So we're just going to mix that, and you can see that that looks really nice. That's a really nice looking spice mix. All right, let's check our butter. Oop, spilled a little bit. Not quite there. I'm going to do 10 more seconds. All right, we're going to slice our potatoes. Get those ready. So I've got my slicer here, my mandolin, and I'm just going to put my potato in. All right, our butter is melted. I'm going to put my potato in and start slicing. Let me have my... All right, here we go. And you can see that I'm slicing those about 1/4 of an inch thick. They're not thin like potato chips. They will shrink some as they bake. The water will come out of that, but you want them fairly thick. All right, let's do our second one. Now, if you don't have a mandolin, that is perfectly fine. You don't have to have one. You can do that with a knife and it will work just fine. So we're going to put our potatoes in our bowl. And we're going to drizzle those with all that butter. Now, I don't like these little ends, so I just put those in the compost rather than put those in there. So I will put those in the little compost bin and we'll let those turn back to dirt. Now, I'm just going to get all that butter out of there. We don't want to waste it. And then I'm just going to stir those potatoes up to make sure that every one of them gets some of that butter on there. So just toss them around, get them down in that butter, make sure they're all wet, and you can see they want to kind of stick together. You may just have to force them apart, get them down in that butter some, because if they don't have butter on them or some liquid, those spices aren't going to stick. Now, I know somebody's going to say, well, what if I don't want to use butter? Well, then you can use olive oil or whatever kind of oil you want to use. You can use bacon grease. I have used bacon grease. It's really good, but today I'm doing better. All right, so we're going to take our parchment paper lined baking sheet and we're just going to lay our potatoes on there in a single layer. You don't want them stacked on top of each other because you want them to be able to bake through. Now, if you see that you have a potato that's not covered in butter, just put it back down in there and make sure it gets in there. You want to make sure it's wet. It's how those spices are going to stick. And you know, depending on the size of your potato, you may need 2 baking sheets. If you do, just get a second baking sheet and put another piece of parchment paper. Our oven is preheated to 375 degrees. And these are going to need to bake, I would start with probably 25 to 30 minutes, and you want them to get just fork tender. Then after they have gotten just to the tender stage, we're going to take them out, put our Parmesan on them, and put them back under the broiler for just a couple of minutes to melt that cheese. So I think 1 sheet pan is going to just do it for our 2 potatoes. It's just perfect. And you can see I am putting them up against each other, but I'm not overlapping them. All right. Now, there's a little butter in there, so you know what? I'm just going to drizzle that over them. Just put some on there, just kind of drizzle it. Because we've already melted it. What else are we going to do with it? It'll just give them some flavor. So in it goes. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to take my spice mix and I'm just going to sprinkle that over every one of these. You want them all to have some spice on it. And if you want to go light, you can. If you want to go heavier, you can do that. It's up to you how much you want to put on them. I will go fairly heavy because we like the flavor.
Do you flip these over during the baking process?
You know, you can. If you want to save part of your spice mixture and put some on the other side, I don't find that that's necessary. I think they bake just fine without flipping them. But if you want to do that, you certainly can. It's up to you. Save part of it and flip them over and put some on the other side if you'd like. I would do it about halfway through, probably after 15 to 20 minutes. Flip them over. You know, potatoes need spices. They're, like I said earlier, they're a little bland. So you need something on them. So don't be afraid to add some spices. I think we've already talked about some things you could put on them, but one thing that we like on them that I'm not doing today is ranch dressing mix. That's really good on them. If you want to do that, you don't even have to do these spices. You can just use the ranch dressing mix or put it on in addition to these spices. All right, so our potatoes are ready to go in. Our oven's at 375. We're going to start at about 30 minutes checking them. I'll just take a little sharp pointed knife and stick into a few of them to see if they're tender. And once they are tender to a fork or a knife, then we're ready to take them out and put the cheese on them. So in we go. While our potatoes are finishing, and they have less than 2 minutes left, I have checked them by the way, and they are about ready. I'm going to go ahead and use my microplane to get ready some cheese to go on top. Now, one thing I didn't mention a while ago that I wanted to make sure to mention is that with this cheese, one thing you can do is put some bacon on top of it. Just take your bacon, a few slices of bacon, chop it up, put it in a saucepan or a skillet, and fry it until it's done. Drain it, get the grease off of it, and then when you put this cheese on, you can just put some bacon on top of the cheese, put it back in to bake for a few minutes, or put it under your broiler and let that cheese melt. And let me tell you, these are really good with some bacon. Now, Melissa and I are not doing that today. We're just going to put cheese on ours. But we have done bacon, and let me tell you, it is delicious that way too. So this is a recipe that you can really make your own. You decide. Onions would be fabulous on it. Yeah, if you want to do onions, you may want to leave off the onion powder, but that's entirely up to you. There's just so many different things you can put on these and different ways you can do it. So feel free to do it the way you think you would like it and experiment with it. Every time you do it a different way. Use different spices, use different toppings. That way you'll find out what you like best. Okay, I think it's about ready. There's our timer. Let me grab these out. And let me show you that these are really tender. See that the knife just goes right in them. Very tender. So now we're just going to top each one with a little bit of cheese. And we will let that melt right over top of it. Might have gotten a little bit too much on that one, but that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything, is it? You just want to kind of spread it over. And we will put those right back in.
They smell really good.
You know what I do need to do? I need to switch that from bake to broil. And this Parmesan, when you have microplaned it, tends to want to clump up. But you know, just take your fingers and kind of spread it out some. It'll be fine. They do smell good, don't they?
They smell really good.
Yeah. It's all those spices on there. And you know, this cheese, this Parmesan, because it's microplaned, looks like a lot. But it's not. When it melts down, it won't be that much on there. So don't be afraid to pile it on. It's not going to hurt anything. I thought I had done enough, but I'm thinking I might need just a little bit more. We'll see here. Yeah, maybe just a hair. You know what? I'm just going to do it right on top of it. Here's one. Ouch! Burned myself. Okay. Want plenty on there. And I could have just done this right on top of them, rather than Okay, well, you can see the cheese is already melting. These that I put on first. Whoops, I'll just take that chunk. You can see it's already melting on there. So if you want to go back and just put a little more on there, you can. The cheese just really makes it good. Makes it creamy and delicious. Okay, so let's go back in. We're going to go under the broiler because we want this cheese to kind of crisp up a little bit. So I'm going to switch my oven to broil. Now you will have to watch it close when you put it back in there because anytime you're broiling something, it can go from not done to done that fast. So we will keep an eye on them. Our baked Parmesan potato slices are out of the oven. We did broil them for about 2 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes. And they are ready for us to try. Now let me tell you, they are screaming hot. So we're gonna have to be careful. I'm gonna take this little one right here on the end.
I think they're screaming for things like sour cream, ranch dressing.
She would. She is the queen of sour cream. You would love sour cream. Well, you do love sour cream on these, don't you?
But you know, potatoes and sour cream, that's perfect.
You're right, you're right. Look, even the bottom is lightly browned, and we didn't flip them at all. So, it's hot, babe.
I'll just take one in a minute.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
As good as ever. The spices, in my opinion, are absolutely perfect. The salty Parmesan with the spices, it just couldn't be better in my opinion. Well, maybe if it had some bacon on it. Here, babe, you have to try this.
Okay.
It's not that bad. Yeah, it's not like you haven't had it before, but.
You meant heat-wise. You meant heat-wise.
Yeah. Those are so good. Now, here's the nice thing.
I like the crispiness of it.
I do too. They're really smooth and creamy on the inside, very soft, but the outside's a little crunchy, a little crispy. Perfect texture. We baked them about 35 minutes. At 30 minutes, they were ready. They were done. They were soft, but they weren't quite crispy enough for me. So I left them an extra 5. Then we put that cheese on there and put them back under the broiler for about 2 to 3 minutes. You'll just have to watch because your broiler may be different than mine. But listen, that's like a 35, 40 minute recipe. And while those are baking, you can get the rest of your dinner together. So it's a great option. These go well with just about anything. It works well with a chicken dish, ham, pork chops, anything beef. Really. Beef goes great with beef. It's even good with hot dogs and hamburgers, you know? You have potato salad with hot dogs and hamburgers. Why not these?
I could put that with a salad too and make a meal.
Yeah, that'd be great with, just put a salad with them. So this is a really good, easy, quick, delicious side dish. I hope you have enjoyed our video and I hope you'll try these. I think you'll love them. If you have kids or grandkids, they love these potatoes. We would appreciate if you'd go right below the video and click the thumbs up. Click that share button and put this on your own social media page so your friends and family will see it. And if you've never done it before, we really would appreciate you clicking that subscribe button, the little notification bell beside of it, and the word all. That just gives you a seat at our table. You'll always be notified when we put a new video up. Also, remember that right under this video where you see the title, it'll say baked Parmesan potato slices. If you'll click in that box, that description box will expand. Melissa always puts the written recipe right there for you. And under that recipe is our contact information. And then, of course, there's a place for comments, and we love reading those comments. So feel free to leave us a comment. We do appreciate you watching our video and supporting our channel. And we want you to remember that you are always welcome to come sit at my table. Have a great day.